Distinguished guests, please welcome back Rula Khalaf and Richard Oldfield.
Well, it's that time, isn't it, that we've been building up to all evening. Or is it, Richard? Is it that time?
Let's string this out a bit longer, actually, surely. This is our only moment to be like Anton Deck, isn't it?
I do have an announcement to make, and that is that we've just been joined by an online audience. So welcome to the wider audience from wherever you are. Tonight, 6 shortlisted authors have achieved something remarkable, translating complex issues into compelling stories that stay with us long after the final page.
So, absolutely right, Rula. And, the judging panel had a really difficult job this year, going from an astonishing 530 entries down to the 6 shortlisted candidates that you've got here. 6 truly remarkable books. And so we're deeply grateful to the judges. Many of them are here tonight with us. And the judging panel this year was, of course, chaired by Rula and, of course, Arakawa-san, who spoke earlier, but also Mimi Alameu, Mitchell Baker, Cheryl Kutu, Mohammed El-Arian, James Kondo, Randall Krosner, Adam Osborne, Nikolai Tangen, and Shriti Vadera. Give them all a round of applause. They take a lot of hard work. Thank you. So just before although I think actually, Pascal did a good job of doing this already, but before we actually announce the winner, let's hear about each of the 6 finalists through the judges' eyes.
Not long ago, it had been mostly just grassland here, surrounding a sleepy town that stank from garbage-filled ditches. Now the city's first skyscraper, the Guomao building, was materializing at the astonishing pace of 1 floor every 3 days. Local officials proudly declared that this was the Shenzhen speed. China was embarking on its grand experiment in capitalism, and Shenzhen was ground zero.
This is James Kondo speaking from Tokyo. Outside of China, Huawei is feared, but seldom understood. This book uncovers the real story behind this rise and highlights why business leaders everywhere must understand its impact on the future of technology and global power.
This is Mitchell Baker speaking from the San Francisco Bay Area. House of Huawei is a timely and informative view of Huawei's history, its technical development from its first telecommunications switch to today's portfolio, and its relationship with various governments over time.
Great powers once rose and survived by controlling geographic choke points like the Bosphorus. American power in the globalized economy relies on choke points of a different kind. Among them is the US dollar, the default currency for international trade and finance. Other choke points include the main banks and networks that move money around the world and the advanced computer chips at the core of the digital economy. The United States has used its hold over these choke points to pioneer a new, hard-hitting style of economic warfare. The result has been a stunning resurgence of state power in a world supposedly governed by market forces.
Nikolai Tangen today from New York. You should really read Choke Points because it shows how geopolitical power is playing out in the real world in a way that you have never heard before.
Hi, my name is Daisuke Arakawa from Tokyo. Why should people read this book? This book now offers the deepest insights into the true nature of the economic war being waged by the United States, even though it contains only limited references to Donald Trump himself. The concept of the impossible trinity resonates with us as a profound question.
The
process of creative destruction is not a universal constant in the modern world. The enduring success of century-old firms in many economies is in fact strike. Unlike the United States, where the 5 largest companies by market capitalization have an average age of 39 years, this average age soars to 84 years in Japan, 116 years in Britain, 120 years in Germany, 144 years in Italy, and 152 years in France.
This is Randy Krosner speaking from Paris. How Progress Ends analyzes the balance between promoting entrepreneurship through decentralization and scale to use those new ideas that entrepreneurs come up with through centralization. The concern that the author has is that both China and the US have this balance wrong, and that they're both headed for stagnation.
How Progress Ends by Carl Benedict Frey is a deeply engaging, well-written look at what actually drives progress and why great, innovative nations end up by stagnating. It's a fascinating story of innovation, national ambition, and yes, failure. The book explores the mechanics of progress, then uses that lens to look at where we are today. To make the analysis even more powerful, the book resorts to fascinating historical insights. The result is a powerful and for many surprising warning that both the US and China are edging towards the same kind of stagnation. Ultimately, the book's brilliance is, and here I'm going to quote the author, illustrating how institutional and cultural factors interact with technology at different stages of economic development. It adds a crucial nuanced dimension to our understanding of progress. It's not just the tech, it's the culture you build around it. This is a must-read for this new age of industrial policy.
This is a passage from the book Abundance by me, Derek Thompson, and Ezra Klein. Abundance contains within it a bigness that befits the American project. It is the promise of not just more, but more of what matters. It is a commitment to the endless work of institutional renewal. It is a recognition that technology is at the heart of progress and has always been. It is a determination to align our collective genius with the needs of both the planet and each other. Abundance is liberalism, yes, but more than that, it is a liberalism that builds.
I'm Sherry Kutu, speaking from Cambridge, England. Why should you read Abundance? Because Klein and Thompson make a powerful argument that allows us to reflect on how a mindset of scarcity can prevent a community from building what is needed, whilst a mindset of abundance can create the capacity for a community to build what is needed. Worth thinking about.
How Progress Ends analyzes the balance between promoting entrepreneurship through decentralization and scale to use those new ideas that entrepreneurs come up with through centralization. The concern that the author has is that both China and the US have this balance wrong, and that they're both headed for stagnation.
Each time I see a headline announcing that officials from the United States and China are once more butting heads, I feel that the state of affairs is more than just tragic. It is comical too, because I am sure that no two peoples are more alike than Americans and Chinese. A strain of materialism, often crass, runs through both countries, sometimes producing veneration of successful entrepreneurs, sometimes creating displays of extraordinary tastelessness, overall contributing to a spirit of vigorous competition. Chinese and Americans are pragmatic. They have a get-it-done attitude that occasionally produces hurried work. American and Chinese elites are often uneasy with the political views of the broader populace, but masses and elites are united in the faith that theirs is a uniquely powerful nation that ought to throw its weight around if smaller countries don't get in line. I came to this view as a Canadian who has spent almost equal amounts of time living in the United States and China. To me, these two countries are thrilling, maddening, and most of all, deeply bizarre.
This is Tracy, recording from London. The book takes the deceptively simple idea that the Chinese are run mainly by engineers and the Americans, mainly by lawyers, and explores the more profound implications of that on their rivalry. And if you want to know if it's the engineers or the lawyers who will win, you have to read the book.
Mimi Alamayo from Washington, D.C. This must-read shows how China's engineering-driven model challenges America's lawyer-led one and what that rivalry means for the future we're all racing towards.
The breakthrough was coming. Jensen sensed it. He sensed it through his discussions with researchers and by their astonishment at the speed-ups his technology unlocked. He sensed it from the obsessive enthusiasm of his brilliant employees. He sensed it enough to torpedo his profits. He sensed it enough to compromise his core product. He sensed it enough to risk his job. Somewhere out there was some graduate student who would skip the grant application circus to buy an NVIDIA GPU with his housing stipend and usher in a revolution. Somewhere out there was some lunatic whose ideas CUDA would prove right. Somewhere out there was some neglected branch of science waiting to harness the firepower of Jensen's computers to shatter the paradigmatic frame. Jensen just had no idea what it was.
I am Adam Osborne, speaking from Hong Kong. The Thinking Machine is a very timely account of how Jensen Huang has driven NVIDIA to become the world's most valuable company. We all know it has a happy ending, but the course of tech never runs smooth, and the twists and turns that have occurred over the past 30 years make for a highly entertaining read.
Set against the backdrop of NVIDIA, one of the world's most closely watched companies, this book vividly explores the essence of entrepreneurship, a once-in-a-century technological revolution, and even the future of human intelligence, which stands as a landmark in business documentaries.
So what an extraordinary group of books. And let's just take one more moment to... We're really going to spin this out, aren't we, Rula? No, let's take one more moment to celebrate and recognize those astonishingly talented shortlisted authors.
Shall we do this, Richard? Yeah. Are you ready? Okay. Yeah? Okay. All right. The moment you've all been waiting for, the announcement of the 2025 Financial Times and Schroders Business Book of the Year.
So the judges have selected, in their words, an important, very well-researched book that provides unique insights into a driven, entrepreneurial leader and a company making an outsized impact on the new industrial revolution. So the winner of the 2025 Financial Times and Schroders Business Book of the Year is The Thinking Machine, Jensen Huang, NVIDIA, and the world's most coveted microchip.
I prepared no speech for this, but thank you so much for being here. I really want to thank the Financial Times. It is the most superb newspaper in the world. Their coverage on AI in particular is not to be missed. It is so good. It is just absolutely the best, better than anyone's. So make sure you subscribe and keep reading.
We like you even more, Stephen. Thank you.
No, I'm not just saying that. It really is top notch. Boy, it's such an honor to be up here. Jensen Huang, who I wrote this book about, is just the most unusual person, most unusual executive, but really just the most unusual person that I've ever met. He's the most capable individual I've ever met, but it comes from a place of like deep, almost like self-loathing. He's completely neurotic. Like, he's completely driven, and I mean this not in a clinical sense, but like he's just completely driven by negative emotions. In the time that I was writing this book, NVIDIA went from being the 7th most valuable company in the world to the most valuable company in the world, which it is today. Since I published it, it has actually increased its concentration to the S&P 500 so that it is the most concentrated stock in the history of the S&P 500 index. So by some measures at least, in fact, it's the most valuable company ever. So what's happening? Well, they're building the hardware that powers the AI revolution. And all of us are on the precipice of just unprecedented technological, economic, and social change. And this company made it happen. I was talking to Bill Dolly, the chief scientist at NVIDIA, but previously the head of Stanford University's computer science department. And he said, we built the software tools that power AI in the 80s. And then we got the data we needed in the 2000s. But nobody was building the microchips we needed. And in fact, it was unprofitable to do so. For 10 years, Jensen lost money building this stuff. And it was not clear that he would ever have any kind of customer at all. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the movie Field of Dreams, but he builds a baseball in the cornfield and then waits for the players to arrive. That's what Jensen did. He really did. It's a very counterintuitive business strategy. His customers didn't like it. His investors didn't like it. And NVIDIA's stock price was stagnant for 14 years while he built the capacity for these systems. He didn't know even AI was coming. He wasn't building it for that purpose. And in fact, it wasn't a use case that NVIDIA listed on the original kind of plan for these microchips. They thought they were building them for oil prospectors and quantum physicists. But what happened is when he saw AI and he saw the power of it, he pivoted to it, and he shifted his whole company in one memo overnight. In 2014, he wrote an email to his company saying, we're no longer a graphics card company. We're now an AI company. And this was before anybody. And he proceeded to monopolize the market on the hardware to sell this stuff, more or less. He doesn't like when I say monopoly, but he proceeded to accumulate a 90% market share in training the AI chips, in building the training AI chips, and he holds that to this day. What does the future hold for NVIDIA? I think robots are coming. This is the thing Jensen talks about all the time. I'm writing about it now, actually, as a follow-up to the book. Jensen's going to train the brains of these robots. He's going to train them in a digital gymnasium that he has built inside NVIDIA's cloud structure. They're going to learn to wash dishes and drive cars and clean the floor, but instead of breaking dishes at the sink, they're going to do it virtually. Once the brain is sufficiently sophisticated, it will be downloaded into a microchip and updated through the cloud regularly. So your robot you buy at home will be a little wonky at first, and then it'll start to get better and smarter and smarter and smarter until you reach a point where it seems indispensable from you. This is the next $4 or $5 trillion in market capitalization in AI. This is where it's going to come from, and everyone is putting all their chips into it right now. So what I hope to do is continue to write this book. And you might say, well, how can you do that? I think the book is evolving. I think AI is changing what the book can be. When I wrote this book, the most common feedback, I got 2 pieces of feedback, most commonly. One was, this book is too technical and I can't understand what's going on. And the second was, this book isn't technical enough, you didn't give me enough technical detail. And I always thought, well, if I could just get those complaints in equal measure, I'm doing my job, right? I'm hitting it right in the middle. But then AI came along, and I said, God, I have so many different kinds of readers, and they're approaching all this material I've done from so many different places. Some of them are students who want to be the next Jensen Huang. Some of them are just looking for something to read. Some of them are technical readers, engineers with 20 or 30 years experience. Wouldn't it be amazing if somehow the book could adapt to meet the need of the reader on the fly? Wouldn't it be amazing if you could come to the book with your own set of concerns and interests, and the book grew and evolved into something that you wanted it to be, so that I could continue to contribute to it as well, because this story is really not over in any way. I hope to spend the rest of my life writing about NVIDIA. In some ways, I think we're just in the first stage. It's a radical concept, but I think we are entering an era where everything that we take for granted will change. I think the whole world is going to be transformed. All forms of media, and all of it, it has to be adapted to the age of AI. So while I'm overjoyed and so grateful to receive this award, to me, I truly do not feel that this is the end. I feel it's the beginning for NVIDIA. I feel it's the beginning for this kind of work, and I hope to do it for a very long time. Thank you so much.
Congratulations again to our winner. I have a feeling that he's going to be back here sometime. Can you win twice as the book evolves? But congratulations also to every shortlisted author tonight. You have all contributed to the conversation, shaping the future of business. Thank you also to our judges, to Schroders and to Nikkei for their partnership, and to everyone who joined us, both here and online. And good night. See you next year.
Good night.